What's going on, people? Welcome back to Chelsea Fan TV and welcome to another episode of the Chelsea Fan TV podcast. First things first, guys, make sure you smash the likes on the video, subscribe to Chelsea Fan TV if you haven't done so, and leave your thoughts in the comments below, whether you agree or disagree with any of the topics we've discussed in today's episode. And things get worse and worse for Chelsea. We thought we hit rock bottom last week against Southampton. We then went to Tottenham, where we've never lost in that stadium. We never conceded a goal. We go down 2-0. Another pathetic performance, lack of fight, desire, passion, everything missing. No leaders on the pitch, no leaders off the pitch in a dugout either. A lot more people turning against the manager, but it looks like he's going to be staying for the time being. And, you know, it never rains, it pours. Confirmed today. And Lewis, I think it's the best place to start, mate. Thiago Silva, we saw him go off injured in that Tottenham game, something to do with his knee. Initial reports coming out last night said he might only miss a week, but subsequently the scans have confirmed today that he's going to be out for 6 weeks. Won't be back till April because of after the March international break. How big a blow is that? It's just another more bad news in what's just been a terrible season on and off the pitch.
I mean, we're screwed anyway, so it doesn't make too much more of a difference. The longer Potter stays, the worse things are going to get. But, I mean, any hope I have for the Leeds game, Everton game, gone. Just gone. Because without Thiago Silva, we already haven't kept a clean sheet this season. I don't expect that to continue. There'll be more mistakes. And the defence is all that we've really relied on. So, yeah, it's just the icing on the top of this horrific cake that we've been eating all season.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of them. I mean, I suppose, like, if you look at it, though, I guess whilst it's a massive loss and he's our best defender and he's kind of the glue that holds the defence together, I suppose you could argue now with Wesley Fofana back, having played sort of a half against Southampton and most of the game against Spurs, I guess it's a slight plus that he's back. I mean, what have you made of his performances since he's come back? So we know he's clearly a very talented boy. And I suppose he was a positive against Southampton. I mean, he's no Thiago Silva, but do you think he can kind of step in and kind of fill that void for the next few weeks?
I mean, he's been good. Like, that's a positive. Defensively, like, that's the least of my worries. But losing Thiago Silva, you're still going to lose a lot in terms of your forward passing. I think Silva's, our highest assister in the league this season or something like that.
Or maybe 2 or 3, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, it might be a stat from a few weeks ago or something, but he's still up there. So we are going to be missing out a lot. Fofana can come in and do a job defensively, so could Chalobah, to be honest. Even Koulibaly's not been too bad. But, yeah, losing Silva is still going to be a blow no matter what way you look at it.
Yeah, it just like, yeah, there's kind of our capable replacements, but it just looks a bit panicky at the back when he's not there. Other players just don't look as comfortable. We saw Badia Shil's done very well this season, but in the Southampton game when Silva wasn't alongside him, he didn't look quite as composed. And I think he just makes the other players calmer. He makes them perform to a higher level as well because they kind of know they've got his presence alongside. And when that's gone, things tend to look a little bit shaky. But yeah, as you say, mate, it's just another ridiculous thing that's happened to us in a season that's just been complete shit. But we have to try and pick ourselves up. We have to try and move on. Before we get into like Potter and looking ahead to Leeds, I just want to cover a few transfer things. Report coming out in the Telegraph today saying that Mateo Kovacic is attracting interest from Manchester City. Now, obviously, he's out of contract in 2024. And the new owners have been very clear that you either sign a new contract in the summer or you're going to be sold. Now, there's not really been much talks or many reports that I can find that Kovacic has kind of entered into talks for a new contract. Obviously, there's still plenty of time to do so. But, I mean, mate, do you think it could be time to get some money for Kova and move him on? I look at him now and I just think he's not been as effective as he has been in the first few years that he was at Chelsea. And it's not... I just don't think he's been as influential. I think we can probably afford to move him on. I mean, before we talk about the City interest, do you think the summer would be the right time to move Kovacic on?
All depends on him. Like, he's a quality player. I'd want to keep him. And even if we're rebuilding the midfield, I think he brings good depth, but he hasn't had a good season. Part of me thinks it's because of Potter. I think he's one of the players that's been falling out with him. And if he wants to go, fair enough. Like, his availability means it's not really that deep if we lose him, but I would also rather keep him. And if we sell him, I'd rather he go abroad and not to a rival. So no to Man City in general. But if he does want to leave, sell him abroad. I think he could do really well in like Serie A or going back to La Liga potentially. But don't keep him in England if you don't want to be here.
Yeah, I suppose like the only thing that appeals with it to sell within the Premier League is that from a Premier League club, we'd get the highest fee for him. There's no doubt about it that the most money we'd get for him would come from a Premier League team. Like a La Liga side or a Serie A side definitely wouldn't pay as much as, say, a Man City would. But then on the flip side, you've got to look at it. Do these owners, are they bothered about players going to rivals, or they just want to get the most money they can for these players? I'm not really sure like what sort of route they want to go down. But yeah, I think if we're looking at it, I guess we'll move on to Kante in a sec. But for me, obviously, Jorginho's gone, as we know. It looks like Kante's going to sign a new deal. Do you keep both Kante and Kovacic? I mean, what are your thoughts? Do you think it's now a case of one or the other, or do you think there could still be space to keep both as squad options?
Yeah, keep both as squad options, personally. I'm fine with that. Kante, I've already said, like, I worry about his availability, but I do think we need some veterans in the dressing room. And if you manage his minutes, there's still a quality player in there. Kovacic, basically the same energy. We can keep them and still rebuild the midfield around them. And yeah, I'm happy with the pair of them staying. Just reduce their roles and bring in
Yeah.
better midfielders.
I mean, just on Kante, I mean, reports coming out today. I mean, one from France saying that it's all but agreed a new contract until 2026 with an option of a further year until 2027. Fabrizio subsequently reporting that the deal's very close, but he didn't have any details on the length of the contract. But I mean, does a 3+1 for Kante seem a little bit excessive for you? Because for me, I look at it and I just think it's a bit too long for a 31-year-old that has played hardly any football over the last 2 seasons. We have no idea what level he's going to reach once he gets back to playing again. I just look at it and I think, all right, it's definitely going to be on reduced wages, you would imagine. But to commit yourself to 3 years on an injury-prone 31-year-old, that seems a little bit much to me. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
3 years isn't ideal, but if it's performance based, then it's fine. And I do think it will be based on the previous contracts that we've been doing. So I'm not really too annoyed by it. Like, I don't trust his availability, but I do think we need leaders in the dressing room, and I think he fits the barrier. So yeah, I don't mind. But like, I am a bit worried about his availability. It's just the fact we incentivize contracts a lot more now, so that makes it a bit better.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. I mean, just on Kante, obviously he hasn't played since August. I mean, how what level of football do you think he's going to come back as? Because we obviously know how good he's been, but I mean, it's really hard to tell what he's going to be like when he comes back. I mean, obviously, like the noises coming out the training ground and stuff saying, no, he's obviously doing really well. He looks fit and whatnot. That's great, but we actually have no idea how good he's going to be when he comes back. I mean, how good do you think he's going to be when he comes back? Because we haven't seen him play for so long. I mean, do you think he can get near the levels that he was at pre-injury, or do you just think he's going to be a bit hit and miss? Some good games, and then sometimes he'll just be shit.
I think maybe the surgery might have helped, but I have to see that to believe it personally. Personally, I think we just overplayed him too much between 2017 to 2019, and we're paying the price for it now. That and the fact Kante's style of play doesn't really age very well. It's very intense. Involves you just running around non-stop for 90 minutes. Well, very stop and start at times. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he's going to have it in him to be able to last the 3 years unless he changes his style of play. But his style of play is the reason is basically what took him to the top.
Yeah,
So I don't know.
It's a problem, isn't it? And as you touched on, we've had because he's been so important to Chelsea. You want him to play we've wanted him to play as much as possible and as quickly as possible. And I think managers in the past have rushed him back, and it's finally kind of catching up with him. His body's kind of catching up with him. It's so important that we actually manage his minutes properly and kind of just bed him back in very slowly, because we just don't want to repeat situation. But I mean, in terms of him staying, that's on the proviso that he's not an automatic starter. Like that can't be the case, in my opinion. Like, keep him absolutely fine, no problem. Squad role rotation, step in for certain games, 5 subs, cup matches, etc. Whatnot, not a problem. But are you the same? We cannot go into next season with Kante if he's fit as an automatic starter. We've got to move on from that. He can still be
Nah,
important, but he can't be starting every week.
exactly. He could be the quality of a first teamer, but he ain't got the body for it. That would just make him great depth if we can keep him at that level. But we shouldn't be relying on Kante from next season. Shouldn't be relying on him. And we should have a midfield ready and good enough to challenge if he's not a part of it. So just keep him as rotation from my point.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. As you said, like you've got to have, it's great to sort of rebuild with a younger squad, but you've got to have some experience in there. So, and it needs certainly ticks that box there. So it's definitely worth keeping him around the place. And if he can get anywhere near the level that he has been at, then it's a fantastic player to have within the squad and can certainly do a job, but just not week in, week out. Moving on to another player, mate, Raheem Sterling. Some reports suggesting that he could potentially be on his way out the door in the summer, having only arrived last summer. Not particularly pleased with how things are going. It's not been a great season for him. Does that news surprise you? I mean, Arsenal have been potentially linked with him, but just regardless of the Arsenal potential links, I mean, does it surprise you that there's reports emerging that Sterling could be looking to move out the club? I mean, obviously, his form under Tuchel at the beginning of the season was much better than it's been under Potter. But are you still surprised that Sterling could move on?
Yeah, but I think it's because of Potter. He was happy to come here. Like, this brought him closer to his family in London. It fit perfectly, but I think partly it's because he's surrounded by crap around him. Because under Pep, with better players, he was balling out. He was one of the top 20 goal scorers in the league. His quality speaks for itself. Here, he's just surrounded by crap, and he's got a crap manager that he doesn't really have any faith in. I'd want to leave too. This wasn't what I signed up for. So I get all the more reason why we need to get rid of Potter. Because Potter's going to drive away anyone with any sort of ambition to win trophies, because he ain't winning one.
I mean, do you think that, just on that, do you think that obviously the players that we've signed, do you think they've like Potter's had any kind of pull in that, or it's very much they're just signing because they like the project and Potter happens to be in charge now? Do you think he's had any pull in getting these players here? Do you think he's been a decisive factor in any of those signings, or do you think it's London lifestyle, it's Chelsea, it's the Premier League, it's a massive club, it's an exciting project? Do you think that's the case, or do you think maybe actually Potter has had some pulling power? I mean, it's obviously it's hard to say, but
I think Chelsea's got more of the pull than
Yeah.
him. I do think he's played a part in it too. I won't say he hasn't, because he would have had to give the say so. The player would have had to speak to the manager. I do think he would have played a factor, but like, it's Chelsea. The players will probably be here longer than the manager at any point. You could say maybe player power's rearing its ugly head with this one, but Potter's not shown any sort of sign that he's got a clue of what he's doing. So I could realistically look at this as being more of a board thing too. But I do believe Potter played his part.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, moving away from kind of transfers, injury news, and whatnot. Obviously, we were at Tottenham on Sunday. We weren't there to go into too much detail. It was another depressing day, another shit performance, just absolutely nothing from anyone, and another loss. 2 wins in 16 now. What disappointed you the most on Sunday? Because for me, like the first half, all right, it wasn't amazing, but it wasn't terrible. Like, you know, it wasn't terrible. You know, we've definitely played worse, but I mean, to concede a goal less than a minute into the second half, as soon as that goal went in, you knew we weren't going to win because we just haven't got any goals in the team. But what disappointed you the most? Like, for me, it was just a complete lack of passion, lack of fight, lack of desire in a London derby, in a massive game. Just didn't look up for it. As soon as that goal went in, just like, that's it, we've lost now. And there was just no urgency to do anything.
I think the lineup, first off, because he put Havertz back in the lineup, took Badiashile out and put Ziyech on the right. But then it was the game management. 1-0 down and you bring on Mount and Zakaria.
Yeah, it was poor.
When Aubameyang, Mudryk and Madueke are just sitting on the bench. Then you only bring on Mudryk and Aubameyang when we're 2-0 down with 10 minutes left. Havertz playing a full 90 despite doing nothing. Like, it's just talk about game management, just management in general. The fact we lost to Southampton and took 3 days off in the build-up to Tottenham. And then we still didn't look like we had a clue what we were doing on the pitch. Just everything. Everything was just disappointing. Lucky to even lose 2-0.
Yeah. I mean, do you think the worst thing is that this is not even a surprise? Like, I know we kind of were a little bit optimistic before the game because it's Tottenham, but reality of the situation is that we don't expect Chelsea to win any games right now. Don't expect anything from any matches. Don't, like, at best, we might expect a goal. It's just really difficult right now. And the worst thing is like you can't see where it's going to improve. It's not like you can see little indications like, oh, things are getting slightly better here or slightly better there. Nothing's getting any better anywhere. And there's no signs of anything improving anytime soon. And I just like sort of, yeah, okay, the players aren't doing well enough either, but there's no motivation from the sidelines either. And I don't think it helps when you're struggling on the pitch, low on confidence, and you look to the side and you've got a manager in place who at the moment has got absolutely no idea what's going on. It's not exactly going to fill you with faith that you can that you can turn it around. Or even, I'm not suggesting the players don't want to play for him, but he doesn't strike me as the sort of character that you'd want to roll your sleeves up and get stuck in for and try and turn it around. I'm not saying that's right because you should always want to win for Chelsea regardless of who the manager is. But I don't know, I just look at Potter and I just think not a particularly inspiring individual when you're down in the trenches and you really need like a big figure to help you out on the sidelines. I mean, would you agree with that, or do you see it slightly differently?
No, I agree with you. You don't do anything to inspire anyone. That guy couldn't inspire water to be wet. Like coming off in the press conference, no inspiration, no confidence. On the touchline, no confidence. Barely even comes off to say anything. Don't see any improvements tactically. We come out the second half in most games and look worse. It's just poor all round. The worst manager I've ever seen personally for Chelsea.
Yeah, it is strange. I mean, like, obviously, when he come in, I don't think like there was like massive excitement around the appointment. But I mean, I don't know about you, mate, but I didn't expect it to be this bad. I knew it would be difficult this season, and we weren't, and it would have been a struggle to make the top four. But I didn't think we'd be struggling down in 10th in the top half on goal difference, having scored 4 goals in 2023, 1 win in 11 games this calendar year. Did you expect it to be this bad when he took over? Because I don't think many Chelsea fans did.
I didn't think it would be this bad. Like, I didn't think we'd get top 4 or anything, but 2 wins in 17, that's relegation form. We're 17th in on the form table for the last 15 games. Like the more everything you look at, it's just been a constant downward slope. And that's including when we had a summer window in January. This is all on the manager. And things just aren't going to change until we just accept our L and sack him before we're in a relegation scrap. Because we will be in one.
What do you make of the continued backing of Potter from the board? I mean, all the stuff that comes out of the club, the journalists and whatnot are saying that like they're still sticking by him. He still retains the support. Obviously, the next 2 games are earmarked as absolutely crucial. And then if we were to lose those or to go out to Dortmund, then that could certainly change the thinking. But
what's even the point?
Well, yeah.
Like, this is for what? Lose to Leeds, get knocked out by Dortmund, and then when we're out of our last competition, then we'll agree that we made a mistake. No, just do it now and salvage the season. They'd respect you a lot more for it.
Do you think part of it is obviously, you know, a reluctance to accept that they've made a mistake? It's a massive investment. They just done it a few months ago, 20 odd million to get him out, the contracts and whatnot. Yeah, there could obviously be a termination clause and those things. So it might not cost as much as people think it would to get rid of him. But there's obviously a reluctance to admit wrongdoing. I think that's abundantly clear. But if let's say Potter does get sacked, do you think there's also part of it that's that because there's a lack of options available on the market, it makes it a bit more difficult to make that call because there's no obvious candidate. I mean, if he's sacked, mate, who are you wanting to come in? That's a realistic option.
Anyone, really and truly, it's anybody. I'm not fussed. I'm really not fussed. I think someone who could at least even just have us sit back and defend for our lives, because Potter don't even do that. Play attacking football with no pattern of play or no philosophy. Anyone else who had no faith in their squad would just sit everybody back behind the ball and aim for draws. He's not even doing that. The guy's game management is absolutely atrocious for the top level. And yeah, I'd just take anybody else, just till the end of the season, get us 40 points, we move.
Mate, I've got to be honest. I'm surprised that he's struggled this much. I know it's a massive step up. It's totally different and whatnot. And Chelsea was a mess when he arrived. But fundamentally, I think he's a good coach. Like, he's proven he's a good coach. But for whatever reason here, this is either too big for him or he just cannot get his ideas across to these players.
It's both.
Both. But one thing I have noticed is, right, have you noticed that, like, kind of since January, he's kind of abandoned his principles that have got him to this job in the first place. Like at Brighton, he was always a back three guy. He's hardly used the back three here at all. He just seems to have abandoned all his principles that he did so well with at Brighton and that got him this opportunity in the first place. I don't understand why he's abandoned those principles of play. It doesn't look, and this looks nothing like a Graham Potter team at all. Potter never plays with a back four.
It makes no sense to me, man. It makes absolutely no sense. But that's why I've just washed my hands of it. This guy's just not good enough. He's just clueless. And the sooner we decide to suck up our pride and sack him, the better, because we're a laughing stock right now.
Mate, we are. Mate, have you talking of laughing stock, have you seen the clip of the fans at Fulham tonight chanting Chelsea get battered everywhere they go before the game?
Yeah, that's going around the whole league. We are the banter club now. We're where Arsenal were 3 years ago. Where United were last season, it's now us.
Mate, the Chelsea banter era is in full flow. I mean, on a managerial change, though, obviously it's clear that if a change is made, it's going to be pretty difficult to get a long-term manager in, which this ownership group would want to do in March time. Obviously, people talk about Pochettino, Zidane, and whatnot. They were both available in September. They weren't the right person then. I doubt they're the right people now. So you're probably looking at going down the interim route, which does make things a little bit more difficult. I mean, part of me thinks that maybe actually by saying, oh, we're like the next two games are really crucial, maybe they're just buying themselves a little bit more time to sound out potential replacements and get one lined up. Because you don't want to be in a situation where you sack a manager and then you're waiting to try and bring someone in. You want to have someone lined up before you step in. But I mean, an interim role, I mean, it's so difficult to tell who could even take that job on to the end of the season. I mean, you're looking at maybe a former player. You're looking at maybe giving it to someone like John Terry. I don't know if he's certainly galvanised the dressing room and earned respect, but whether he's a good manager or not, he's kind of just been a number two to Dean Smith at Villa and done some academy stuff. I mean, do you think the interim approach would be the way to go till the end of the season, and then you reassess in the summer?
Yep, literally just bring in somebody that can steer the ship. Bring in Sam Allardyce for all I care. Because we're now talking about trying to keep the squad up. Bring in somebody who knows how to do that. Here's a little big break for you till the end of the season. But we need somebody soon. Because if Potter stays here till the end of the season, we might not go down, but we might. But
we'll finish
we'll
bottom half. We'll finish bottom half if he's
to get bottom half. We will be in the conversation. I think there'll be a point where we'll be 6 points off the drop.
Mate, we're only about what are we now? 9 or 10 points off it? It's not many.
10, 11. See? And then if we lose to Leeds and then Villa get a result, we drop to 11th. If Leicester win this week and they beat us at their ground next week, they go above us, we drop to 12th. See how quickly things dip. Then if we lose to Everton, we could drop to 13th. Then after that, we come back from the international break. We've got to go to Old Trafford. We've got to go to the Etihad. We've got to go to the Emirates. We've got
Newcastle at home.
Brighton at home. Newcastle at home. You haven't beaten anyone above us this season.
Mate, so and do you know what the worst thing is?
To be made now.
Do you know what the worst thing is, mate? This is the winnable run of games, and we're losing all of them. And so we're going to head into those games, which are way more difficult. What are we expecting? If we're just going to go in with the same approach, how can we expect anything different? I mean, we move on to Leeds on Saturday. Just appointed a new manager in Javi Gracia. They beat Southampton 1-0 last weekend, something that we couldn't manage. What are your expectations for this game? Obviously, we have to win. But I don't have any confidence in us winning this game. I just take a goal right now at this point, just small steps. But this is must win. All the last games have been must win. What are your feelings going into it? It's hard to have any feelings of confidence at all.
just get it over with, personally. I'm just going to look forward to going to the pub afterwards. I'll be real with you. We're not winning that one. Koulibaly against the press. Oh, dear. Enzo Fernandez stuck in the 6th role because we sold our only DM to Arsenal. Great. We'll play Havertz up top. We'll play Mount again because it's Leeds and Mount loves to play. We're going to lose. It's just going to be a loss. Simple as that. Suck it up. At least, hopefully, this is the loss that finally triggers the sacking, but we're losing.
I mean, if we did lose, I still don't think that triggers the sacking because there's 2 days to the Dortmund game. I still think that like he'd be in charge for Dortmund even if we lost to Leeds. Like it's just kind of the way it is right now. But
literally sack him and get Thiago Silva in on crutches to take over.
Do you know what? Do you know what I'd rather they do though? Like if they're not going to sack him, just come out and publicly say, "Look, we know the results are shit. It's unacceptable, but we're sticking by Potter, and he's not being sacked this season." Then then
they'll turn on the board. They'll be like, "You're accepting this."
Yeah, it's a fine balance to strike, isn't it? Because at the same time, we want to move away from the hiring and firing thing, but then it's got to be a cut-off point where you look at it and you think, this is not working. Like this, like getting rid of Graham Potter doesn't mean that we've reverted back to hiring and firing. It's just an acceptance that we haven't abandoned the principles that we want to have a long-term project manager. It's just the acceptance that this has not gone the way we thought it was going to go. But this doesn't mean that Chelsea's going to continue being a hiring and firing club. Sometimes it's okay just to hold your hands up and accept that, do you know what? We made a mistake here. We thought this was going to be right, and it's not right, and we've got to do something before it gets even worse. There's nothing wrong with that. And, you know, I don't hate Graham Potter. Nice guy, good coach. It's clear that he's not cut out for this level right now. He needs to maybe go and do something somewhere else and maybe come back and have another stab at it at another top club when he's ready to do so. But there's no shame in admitting that. But it just looks like they're not going to do it. But I mean, in terms of Leeds, mate, we talked about kind of the best performances under Potter have been with the back three. Would you want to revert to a back three? Because for me, I think it makes sense. It gets more out of Chilwell and James, our most effective players. Yes, it leaves you a conundrum what you do with João Felix because there's no kind of number 10 role, but you could play him off the right or you could play him as a 9. Wouldn't be any worse than Havertz in that position. Do you think reverting to a 3 is the way forward for the next game?
Yeah, I won't change anything going forward, but we might keep a clean sheet. So that's an extra point towards survival. Means a lot now. So yeah, you might as well go to a back 5. As soon as we went to a 4, we lost everything. So yeah, just go to what we know.
And in terms of the defensive partnership, obviously we were surprised that Badiashile was dropped for the Spurs game, and then he didn't even come on when Silva was injured. We know that Koulibaly is going to play against Dortmund. Do you think that Badiashile then is going to miss out again against Leeds, and he's going to go with Koulibaly and Fofana to get them more used to playing with each other because they're going to be the partnership for Dortmund because Badiashile's not in the squad? So do you expect that to be the back two?
Yeah. I'd go Badiashile, and to be honest, I'd go Fofana. Badiashile and Fofana. That'd be our back two.
Even though Koulibaly is going to play with Fofana on the Tuesday against Dortmund, do you not think it's worth having the same partnership for those 2 games? Or
nah, these lot get like how many days off? They'll be fine.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, and in terms of the front line, what are we thinking? Obviously, it can't be Kai Havertz again. We saw Aubameyang come off the bench. I don't expect him to start, but what do you see to make up for the forward line? Because let's be honest, Felix has shown glimpses here and there, but it wasn't a great performance against Spurs. I mean, he's obviously going to play because we signed him to play, but who do you put around him? Do you continue with Sterling? Do you bring Mudryk back in to start? Do you return to Madueke? Does Fofana get a nod? It's quite a lot to sort of think about.
I don't know, because I could think logically, but now Deep Graham Potter's in charge, so it's not going to be a logical front three. I'd like Oba in the lineup, seeing as he won't play against Dortmund. I'd like one of Oba or Fofana, because both can't play. Felix in the middle, Mudryk on the left, Sterling on the right. What we're probably going to get is Felix in the middle, Mount on the right, Sterling on the left, and Havertz up top.
Yeah, that'll be. I mean,
yeah.
Pulisic's fit again. I think he'll probably be on the bench, but I don't think he'll start. I mean, just very briefly before we round out there, what have you made of Mudryk? Obviously, because I'm seeing him coming for a bit of criticism, which I think is unfair. Look, it's safe to say it's been a little bit underwhelming since the Liverpool cameo, but I don't think he's been terrible. I think he should be starting more games, and we just need to get the ball to him more. I don't know why he doesn't play more often. I know they're kind of managing his minutes and whatnot still a little bit, and it's a new league, he's a young lad and stuff, but play him and just get the ball to him. And he's got ability. We've seen it.
Yeah, but he's got to get better with his take-ons.
Yeah.
They were really good at the start, and now that's drifted off. I'll give him time and everything. Like, you're playing power ball, no one's going to do well. But, like, it hasn't been great. He's, like, one game away from 007 memes, and I'm really not looking forward to that. But knowing Chelsea, he's going to get... In fact, forget Mudryk. We're probably going to get 007 memes if this thing keeps going. But, yeah, can't really look at Mudryk too tough. I need him to be a bit better with his take-ons. Other than that, like, you're just stuck in the trenches. It is what it is
what it is, mate. Massive game on Saturday, huge game against rivals Leeds. Obviously, we lost 3-0 at Ellen Road earlier in the season, so we definitely don't want a repeat of that scoreline at all, or just a repeat of the loss. Score predictions to round out. What are you saying?
3-1 Leeds.
3-1 Leeds.
At least we score.
Yeah, mate. I've forgotten what it's like to score a goal. It's mad. I don't know what it's like to score a goal. I don't know what it's like to win a football match. I don't know what's going on at this football club. But every week I say we can't keep losing, and we still do.
Chelsea, that.
I felt as a broken man after Spurs. It was so bad. I'll go. I can't predict us to win. I just haven't got the confidence. Go 1-1 draw. That's what I'm gonna go with a 1-1 draw. More because I just don't want to say we're going to lose, because I just can't deal with us losing again. So yeah, go with the 1-1 draw. But yeah, guys, seems like a good point to round out the episode. Make sure you smash the likes on the video. As I said, subscribe to Chelsea Fan TV and leave your thoughts in the comments below. And we'll catch you in another episode soon.